Hey, it's Melissa again. Thanks for joining us on YouTube at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. So we did the first step yesterday in our countdown to move-in day for Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens, and we said our first step was to determine our processing plans. Determine if you want to process the birds yourself or if you want to hire somebody, and determine the ideal date that you want to process them on. If you're processing them yourself, if you're going to take them to a processor, also contact the processor and schedule and confirm that ideal date or the alternative that you can get from the processor so that you have a definite plan in place for processing. And so when I told you that, it kind of sounds like maybe we're putting the cart before the horse to pick out the processing, the end of the flock, before we pick out when do we want to have the birds hatched, when do we want to get the birds. But the thing is, especially because I showed you how if you're working with a processing house, how quickly they can be booked up, if you do the other way and you get your birds first and you have them a couple weeks and then you try to get a processing date from a processor, or even try to schedule in to your own schedule processing them yourself, you can find that with a processor you may not be able to get a date and your birds are going to go beyond when you want to finish them. Or even for your own purposes, there might be 4 or 5 things going on the day that you would prefer to process the birds. So it's better if you do it the other way, determine the processing date first, then you're not putting the cart before the horse, you're setting a plan that you're working towards. So that's your end goal with raising your flock, is to get to that date and to have them successfully finished by that date. So in order to do that, take your ideal processing date or your confirmed processing date at your processor, get a calendar and actually count backward the number of weeks that you want to raise the birds. So here at Twin Oaks Farm, we raise them for 6 weeks. If you prefer to raise them for 8 or 10 or 12, that's okay too, but just take your calendar, take your processing date, and count backward that number of weeks. That will determine when you want your birds to hatch. So if we have a moment here, I'll show you our hatching schedule. So one thing you can do once you've determined when you want your birds hatched is you can actually pre-order them from a hatchery and set the shipping plans. So this is actually a booking confirmation from our hatchery for all of our booking dates of hatches and flock quantities for this year. So this is the one we're leading up to now. They'll move in August 23rd of 2023, 300 Cornish Rock Cross, straight run, means we get them all as they're hatched. We didn't pick out just males or just females, and this is where they're shipping to. So we know with those plans made that we have our hatch date in place and we're ready to go.